It was a quiet November evening when the first tremor of truth began to shatter the carefully cultivated silence in the Crawford Hawthorne household. The streetlights outside cast long, skeletal shadows across the manicured lawn, and inside, a dinner table gleamed under soft chandelier light. The father, Charles Hawthorne, sat at the head of the table, angular in his tailored jacket, his face serene as though nothing in his life ever threatened to crack the veneer. Across from him, his wife Miriam poured wine with practiced grace. Their two children, Rebecca and Daniel, exchanged polite glances, all the weight of family expectation between them. No one spoke of the will, of inheritance, or of the whispered rumors that drifted through the family's social circle. But in the kitchen, young Emma, just 17, sat quietly by the open doorway, her plate untouched. She watched her father's hands move, deliberate and calm. She had stayed out of stories and gossip, always the quiet one. And yet tonight she felt the hush in her bones, as though the walls themselves were listening. The lawyer's briefcase rested at the foot of the table, just out of view. A single document inside it would alter every relationship in that home. Eventually, it would be slid across the mahogany desk under the sterile lights of an office. But first, it would germinate here, in this living room bathed in candlelight and expectation. The family believed they were gathering for a farewell dinner. Charles was leaving town on business, they were told. But Emma, who had wandered back from her room, recognized in the set of her father's jaw the tightness of someone keeping secrets. A glass shattered in the kitchen. The cat, perhaps startled. In an instant, everything broke. Rebecca leapt up. Daniel rose too quickly, and Miriam's hand slipped, sending the wine across the tablecloth. Forks rattled. Emma froze, heart hammering, as her mother cast a furious glance at her. The silence resumed, heavier than before. In the lull, no one moved. But in that moment, the family's illusion of unity stood on trembling ground. The first whisper of betrayal hovered in the air. Before we plunge any deeper into this labyrinth of family loyalty and haunting testimony, I want to hear from you. Where are you watching from tonight? Drop your city or country in the comments. As the contours of this case take shape, I invite you. Was this all greed? Or was something far darker at play? And if stories of buried truths grip you, give this video a like and subscribe. Your support lets us bring hidden stories into the light. The Crawford Hawthorne legacy stretched across the Midwest, a dynasty built on real estate holdings and conservative philanthropy. Charles Hawthorne was a man known for resolve, hard work, a small public life, and an impeccable reputation. But behind his calm eyes lay secrets he took decades to guard. Miriam, his wife, was elegant, discreet, his true confidant in their shared ambitions. Rebecca, their elder child, was primed to take over the family business. A poised, bright woman, confident and charismatic. Daniel, the younger son, was quiet, capable, dependent on his father's approval. And Emma, the youngest and always overlooked, housed in her heart the clarity of someone who sees without wanting to be seen. It was the summer of 2012 when rumors first spread. Charles had drafted a new will. The siblings heard only fragments. "Papa is changing everything," Rebecca told friends. Daniel would shut down when asked. Emma, still at the boarding school, sensed the undercurrents, but remained distant, hoping nothing would change. The family's routines carried on. Sunday dinners, holiday gatherings, the soft warmth of public smiles. No one suspected the foundation was rotting. In 2015, Charles purchased a lakefront property in Wisconsin. It seemed an innocuous investment, but the timing was odd. Over the next few years, he began travel that couldn't be accounted for. Miriam, under pressure, would tell guests simply that her husband was fulfilling obligations out of state. Rebecca, preparing to take the business reins, pressed for clarity, but was met with vague reassurance. Daniel vented in private, he feared being cut out. Emma listened in silence. In the fall of 2018, Charles's health declined briefly, rumors of a heart scare. The family grew anxious. When he recovered, he was more distant, more impatient. By 2020, the inheritance whispers had become louder. Family friends spoke of the new will. They said Charles intended to redistribute wealth, including a secret trust. The siblings met privately. Tension coiled between them. Rebecca confronted her father. She recalls now, he said, "I've always provided for you both, trust me." Daniel stormed out. Miriam wept in private. Emma, just 20, sat in her journal, writing questions she would never voice. Then in early 2024, the turning point arrived. Charles collapsed in his study. Paramedics rushed in. He survived, but never truly recovered. In the hospital corridors, Rebecca and Daniel fought beside his bed over what he was saying. The will itself remained undisclosed until the reading. Miriam, weak in spirit, stood by, fragile. Emma watched all of it from the edges, undetected. On the evening of the will reading, in the lawyer's oak-paneled chambers, silence reigned. A single envelope sat on the desk. The lawyer positioned himself. Rebecca, confident, expected to see her name first. Daniel warily anticipated what he already feared. Miriam sat across, wringing her hands. Emma, uninvited, waited outside in the hallway, heart in her throat. When the lawyer finally spoke, he began to read. The distribution was unlike anything expected. A secret trust, an account in Emma's name, held nearly 1/3 of the total estate. Rebecca's share was reduced. Daniel's share omitted a key parcel. Miriam's access was curtailed. In that room, the siblings stared in disbelief. Rebecca's face went pale. Daniel stuttered in outrage. Miriam gasped, and all the while the lawyer's calm voice echoed. These are the final wishes of Charles Hawthorne, dated June 5th, 23, signed and witnessed. Rebecca recoiled. She hissed, "This is meaningless. I'll contest it." Daniel pounded the desk. The lawyer stood firm. Miriam wept, and somewhere, just out of view, Emma exhaled the truth she had guarded. That night, the family's facade cracked, and a betrayal conceived over decades was now exposed. In the first days after the reading, Rebecca retained a powerful attorney. Daniel hired separate counsel. The public statement claimed estate procedures in dispute. The media caught wind of the unusual trust. Neighbors whispered. The family's name, long untouchable in the region, became wreathed in rumor. The investigation began quietly. Rebecca's lawyer demanded previous wills. Daniel's pressed for financial statements. Miriam refused to relinquish any documents. Emma, now named in the trust, remained silent under pressure. But inside her, the burden of knowledge sharpened. She held a secret. She saw something, heard something, that others denied. Investigators uncovered a series of shadow payments, transfers from a shell company in Charles's name to an offshore account. The funds traced to the Wisconsin property he bought. It turned out that Charles had overpaid for that land to hide reserves. For years, he funneled income from development projects into it. Rebecca and Daniel had been kept ignorant. The trust for Emma was seeded from those hidden funds. In effect, Charles had been setting aside a bulwark, a child he believed would see through the family's blind ambitions. But that was only part of the betrayal. The key revelation came when Emma quietly handed investigators a recording. She had, months before, accidentally captured her father's phone call, Charles instructing Miriam to mislead the children if pressed. He had asked her to lie. The recording was clear. Tell them the will hasn't changed. Distract them. I'll finalize while they argue. That confession, saved unknowingly, became pivotal. In the courthouse, Rebecca's side attacked the recording, alleging manipulation. But forensic engineers confirmed its authenticity. The shell company accounts could not be denied. Documents once hidden behind code names were laid bare. The trust was real. The payments were real. The testimony of her from Emma now ascended into the public record. Yet the darkest secret lay buried deeper. In a lockless safe at Charles's old office, Miriam uncovered letters. In one, her husband wrote of guilt. He confessed that when Rebecca was born, a doctor had misdelivered trust guidance. In his mind, he had always meant for Emma to inherit a portion because she had protected him in silence, had seen when others would not. The trust was part restitution, part reckoning. But the family, caught in their own ambition, read only betrayal. At trial, Rebecca pleaded that she had been deceived. Daniel claimed emotional duress. Miriam cried for the husband she lost, torn between loyalty and love. Emma, the quiet daughter, sat rattled, but resolved. In her testimony, voice trembling, she said, "I never asked for this. I only did what I felt was right." Her words echoed. The courtroom stayed silent. The jury sided largely with Emma. The estate was divided closer to Charles's final will. Rebecca's challenge was dismissed in part. Daniel lost much. Appeals followed. The reputations of all involved were shredded. The community whispered of scandal. The Hawthorne name became shadowed by revelations. In the aftermath, relationships lay in ruins. Rebecca, furious and betrayed, no longer spoke with Emma. Daniel retreated into bitterness. Miriam, broken, sank into obscurity. Emma left the region seeking anonymity, carrying the weight of having exposed a family's deepest betrayal. But peace eluded her. Every night she wondered if she had destroyed more than she saved. Justice had been served in the eyes of the law, but at what cost? The bones of trust lay picked over. The family, once bound, was fractured beyond repair. Emma had become a guardian of truth, but also the person who upended the life she knew. In the bitter stillness that followed, people asked, was she the inheritor or the executioner? In exposing the secret, Ultima, had she freed the family or condemned it? Sometimes the darkest secrets are the ones we keep, and sometimes they are the ones we dare to reveal. The truth was exposed, but the damage it wrought can never be entirely undone. Do you think justice was truly served? Or are there still truths left buried? Share your theories in the comments below. And if you want us to keep pulling back the veil on the world's darkest family betrayals, hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss what we uncover next.